Mille, thank you very much for taking the time to be here with me today. Just to get it out of the way, since I know that most people who listen to Phantom Antichrist are obviously very curious as to the process that was involved this time, what do you think is responsible for the 5 years gap between this critically acclaimed Phantom Antichrist and Gods of Violence?
Basically, the respect for the music, and the fact that we have recorded an album like Phantom Antichrist. That was a very tough one to follow, really, and we just wanted to make sure that no one will be disappointed, and we wanted to make sure that we ourselves can reinvent ourselves and come up with a new version of the band and another exciting album, really.
That makes sense. I mean, Phantom Antichrist did extremely well, so I can understand that there's some pressure to try to reach that very high bar that was left by that album. Now, when it comes to the Gods of Violence, and you might have to correct me on this, of course, I read that the title was inspired by the terrorist attacks in Paris, the massacre at the Bataclan. Could you elaborate on that?
The title wasn't inspired by that. The title World War Now was inspired by the Bataclan. That was a song, that the first song on the record. Gods of Violence was more inspired by Greek mythology, because if you go back to ancient Greece, the Greeks had a god for every human facet and human character, and then they had like this Ares was the god of violence, and I came up with this concept where I was trying to make a connection between these the ancient view on the world and the view that we see nowadays, and the reality that we live in at this day and age. And Gods of Violence, World War Now, was inspired by the Bataclan. World War Now, because when I saw the footage of Bataclan, and we play this club very regularly, and we love this club. It's a very nice atmosphere in that club, and now it's never going to be the same. And we look forward to play there again. But the World War Now title was the first time ever the terrorists attacked subculture. They attacked a rock band. They attacked a band that I could have been in the audience. You could have been in the audience. And that was a time when I was like, man, this is like already happening. The war is already happening. And that's how I came up with the title, World War Now. It's some people think that a world war has to have like a battlefield or a strategy or whatever. This war has no strategy. It doesn't have a battlefield. The battlefield is planet Earth, and it could hit us everywhere, anytime.
And the flames of war are only beginning to intensify. Wallahi, the fighting has just begun.
In Gods of Violence, issues like religious intolerance and tyranny play an important role, as they have done in previous ones. I mean, for example, Satan is real. You reference martyrs who try to kill us and who'll never break our spirit, or something along those lines. To me, that really rang a bell in regards to, for example, suicide terrorism. Would you agree that that's accurate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Where Satan is real is like a continuation of that. Because when I was growing up as a kid, I was figuring the world in the year 2000 as a better place, because most of the people that I knew, for them, religion didn't mean anything. It was something from the past. Religion was something that the parents would, or the grandparents would give relevance and follow. Then when I was in the 80s or 90s, I was growing up, I pictured the future as a time when religion would lose its relevance, and all of a sudden, we're in the year 2016, and it's more relevant than ever. It's stronger than ever. Religion is so strong, and even though not so many people follow religions, the ones that do can be very extreme. So Satan is real talks about that. Talks about the blind leading the blind, so to speak.
When it comes to the role of religion now, are we talking about Islam? Because even though in places like the United States we do see the idiocy of fundamentalist Christians who have definitely played a role in the wars in the Middle East. The kind of violence that you reference, I would say, is tied to Islamist groups or like ISIS or Al Qaeda.
They claim that it comes from them. We don't know anything. The thing is, whatever it is, I'm not an expert on these things, and I don't want to attack any particular religion. I think to me, all religion is good and bad. If you follow religion for personal reasons and it gives you strength and it helps you in your life, then it's nothing bad about following a religion or a faith. Organized religion and faith is something completely different. I'd say that, like, blaming one particular religion is also very, very easy.
I do understand that you do risk taking things out of the context in which they happen.
Absolutely, because I think Islam is in itself, if you read the Quran, is a very peaceful religion. So is Christianity, so is most religions, because it's here to give you an orientation in your life. It's here to help you. And it's here to make you start asking questions, and that's how I felt. I was raised Catholic, and to me, when I read the Bible the first time, it was like almost like a fairy tale book of fairy tales where like people could like walk on water, and it kind of gave me like inspiration to question things. I'm like, really, why can this guy walk on water? And then I got into symbolism and into metaphoric. I asked the priest, why can this guy walk on water? And he's like, you can't. You have to. It's only a metaphor for the fact that faith can really move mountains. I think it's something very positive, faith, and having all these symbols and all these ancient wisdom could be great, but we have to move on. We have to go further. We have to take this as something from the past, and this our situation now. We need to evolve. We need to go further, and we need to leave these things behind us. So that's why I'm criticizing religion is it's gotten old like 20 years ago already.
Well, I mean, I don't have any faith, so I don't care. I don't take offense to that. But the cover of Gods of Violence is a crucifix sinking in a sea of blood with a burning cathedral in the background.
You said to me you don't have any faith. Do you have faith? You have faith in yourself, right?
No, of course. I mean religious faith.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Me neither. But these things, of course, are very symbolic. These things are very strong images, and I know exactly what you mean. Like the cover art is very, very dark and almost like the apocalypse, and it's very like artistic. And it's hard, to not use these symbols nowadays. When you want to get into a mood for a metal album, when you get your audience into a mood for a metal album.
I get it. It's a way to get a reaction.
Exactly. And it's like, it's supposed to make you curious about the record. Just as simple as that.
I understand, and it's also nice to see that it maintains the style that Kreator has used for a long time.
Yeah. And like I said, there's like bands that go the opposite way. They go the other direction, and they just put like, for example, the new Metallica, they had photos of themselves, which is also a cool thing. I thought that was also a cool cover idea. But we go a different path.
When I received the information about the album before we released our review, I read the following quote from you, and I wanted to get a comment from it. It said, "My wildest years are behind me, and there are a couple of things I would have sung about back in the days that just aren't in line with my present life anymore. You can grow older and still live a metal musician's life for sure. But you have to make sure to preserve your dignity and to not become a parody of yourself. That's walking a fine line." What are these big philosophical things that you might have been singing about years before that you've changed your opinion about?
No, I didn't change my opinion about certain things. I only changed perspective. I'm on this planet for a lot longer than I was when I wrote, like, say, Pleasure to Kill, And so it would be very, very sad if the 18-year-old me that wrote Pleasure to Kill would have the same thoughts as the older me now coming out with Gods of Violence, even though it's the same person. I think in the core of this person is still the same. I still believe in I still have faith in music, which is to me the most wonderful thing in the world. I think it opens doors. It connects people. It's a great form of communication to, everyone on this planet would understand music, and it gets people together. So to me, I believe in music. I believe in these things that I already believed in when I was 18. So now, of course, my perspective has changed a little bit, and saying that, like walking this thin line that you were talking about in the quote, or I was talking about in the quote, might be very thin, because you have to stay 17, 18-year-old musician. You have to stay the naive artist. Otherwise, you become a boring artist. If you cannot put yourself into this state of mind anymore, then your art becomes like tired. And I think that's what I was trying to say in this quote that you mentioned.
Do you think that it has been difficult? Well, first of all, I don't think you're old.
Oldish.
Older.
Mature.
Like a fine wine. Do you think that it has been difficult to grow older in a genre like thrash metal that has been associated with the philosophical and political elements that we associate with a more rebellious youth?
Oh yeah. But that's the thing. There's a quote from a German philosopher saying that once you stop questioning things, and once you stop being curious about whatever is happening, that's when you age. That's when you like, well, okay, I've seen everything. And I know some people that are in their 20s. They go like, oh, you know what? I've been there. I've done that. Why should I travel? Why should I read? Why should I do anything? And then they're old when they're 25. So that's what I meant when I was. I think once you lose your naive spirit, and once you lose your naive self, and you're not enjoying like new bands, for example. I'm still a big fan of young bands. Some of the bands that I like, that I'm into, are in their 20s.
Personally, I think that it's closing yourself to new ideas that really makes you old.
Yeah, exactly. Going like, you know what? I've done that. I know everything. Yeah, I know everything. Why should I listen to the younger musicians? I've been there. And when I was a kid, there was these bands that were before my generation. Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. And to me, those were older bands. I was listening to Iron Maiden, Metallica, you know what I mean? And to me, those were the new generation. This was the new generation, the exciting. And then once I get older myself, I discovered very late in the 90s. I discovered the beauty of a band like Black Sabbath, because before that I was like, you know what? No, Iron Maiden is heavier, And that's something that you can only experience when you mature, and when you have a certain age, when you get to a certain age where you kind of reflect differently.
Well, just today I was reading about the differences in the process of learning music for younger and older people. It said that even though there are some more difficulties for older people, like it might be developing the muscle memory to move your fingers along a guitar's fretboard, it can also be more rewarding, since you appreciate music differently as you grow older. You pay attention to the music in a completely different way.
Absolutely, and the same goes with technology, modern day technology. Like, for example, computers. I've always had a computer. I was growing into it, but I know like younger people that are like half my age, they're a lot more. They have a better skills on the computer, and they understand these things a lot better than I do. But I know also a lot of people from my generation. They don't even know how to open, like to work a computer, and they don't know how to work the internet. And some of them are really saying really unfiltered and unthoughtful things on the internet, Whereas I'm like, okay, you also have to be able to communicate on this new platform, on these new platforms, because it can, in theory, everyone in the world can read it. So there's a responsibility when you post something on the internet. You're responsible for what you post, because sometimes it can make you look really, really stupid.
On a completely different topic, when I was preparing this interview, I checked your discography on Wikipedia, and I saw that you are listed as an anarchist musician. Do you think that's accurate? Do you consider yourself an anarchist?
Anarchist or musician? That's interesting. I'm not. I'm anti-category. Let me put it this way. So that alone makes me not an anarchist musician. You get it? Because being only an anarchist musician would not. I don't see myself as only an anarchist musician. I was really flirting with the anarchist movement, and I was flirting with the philosophy of anarchism, of course. But I was also with other forms of philosophy. I wouldn't limit myself, and that to me is a limitation, like putting a category on people or putting them in a certain labeling me as an anarchist musician. Yeah, it's fine. It's a part of my personality to be. To me, that's everything I know about anarchy. 99%. I know. I've learned from bands that I liked. I'm not like I didn't read any of the Pekunin or whatever they're called. Like these. I am aware and I know who they are, but everything I know, I've learned from about anarchism. I've learned from Yellow Biafra and Ian MacKaye.
Before we mentioned Metallica, now regardless of your opinion about the new album, it is fairly clear that they as a band have for decades created a type of music that doesn't really fit within what you would call thrash metal. At least definitely not with the type of thrash metal that Kreator creates. Since you're still playing a fairly traditional form of the genre, do you think that this has been done at the expense of more success or popularity? That in a way staying close to this heavier sound cuts you from a more mainstream audience?
That's a tough one, because I think especially on the new Metallica, there's a lot of thrash metal on it. And I also would say that they were the inventors of thrash metal, one of the inventors. So I don't know really, to be honest. Probably the same answer that I would give you for the categorizing myself. I think putting a label on music is also always a little tough. I mean, we're definitely more rooted in thrash metal than other bands maybe, but on the other hand, I wouldn't say that that's. I don't see that as a limitation, if you know what I mean. I see that as an exciting challenge to put something new to this genre, rather than I'm limited by the thrash metal label. I think there's a lot of people that still enjoy this kind of music, and I think also even on the new record there's like some stuff that is more let's say traditional metal than it is thrash metal. So I would, if anything, I would put the label metal band on Kreator rather than thrash metal. No, of course it's thrash metal. I don't know. It's tough, man.
Just like Metallica are part of the Big Four with Anthrax, Slayer, and Megadeth, Kreator are mentioned as part of the Germanic Big Four of thrash metal. So it's you, Tankard, Destruction, and Sodom. How do you feel about this grouping?
I was never a fan of that thing. I mean, to be honest with you, I love all these bands. I love Destruction, Sodom, and Tankard, and I think those bands were a huge part of our history, and we've done many, many great shows with those bands. But on the other hand, metal is some sort of brotherhood, and of course, it's easy to also put a label on these three bands, because I think if you listen to all four bands, each band has a very unique style. Kreator doesn't sound anything like Sodom. Sodom doesn't sound anything like Destruction, and Tankard is very unique. So, yeah, it's a fine, it's a nice like thought, and it's a nice idea. But on the other hand, there's 4 different bands, and we coexist, and we exist not as one band. We're not a unit. We're like a circle of friends, maybe, but we're not like. If I write a new record, I don't call like Tom Ainripper and ask him for his opinion. But I'm always like very interested in his opinion. But we all have our own bands and we all have our own lives. And if we see each other, we hang out and we're friends. We've been friends for many years, and it's great that they're still around. And I love the fact to be a part of this. But on the other hand, I'm also very much...
you are your own band, of course.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that the question is also whether there is enough demand and interest on your part to put this kind of tour package together.
Yeah, there's some plans. There's always been plans. But the thing is, Kreator is a very hard... We tour a lot. And we probably tour... I think only Kreator and Destruction tours... does plays the same amount of concerts every year. Destruction is very much of a touring band. Kreator is, but Sodom isn't. So that's where the problem starts. We have to convince them. We have to see if their schedule is working with our schedule. If it's clashing, we have a problem. And it's a little tough to get it all on one together and get everyone in. Everybody's schedule working at the same time, and it's a little hard. It's not as easy as it seems. But we're working on something. We'll start working on something regarding that. Right now, as we speak, there's something in the making.
Mille, it has been very enjoyable talking to you today, and I really hope that I will be able to see you on tour very soon. Best of luck, and have a nice day.
Yeah, same to you. Take care.